Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into a market analysis report on something maybe not top of mind, but really quite essential, the global Ninhydrin market.
That's right.
Our plan is to unpack the key data, the trends, basically make sense of these numbers for you. We want to figure out why this particular chemical has a market worth looking at.
Exactly. And the report clarifies why it's important right away. I mean, the market exists because Ninhydrin is, well, it's a critical tool.
In what area specifically?
Mainly biochemical analysis, like finding amino acids, forensic science.
Fingerprints, right.
You got it, detecting fingerprints. And also in pharmaceutical synthesis, it's kind of a building block for some drugs. So,
Yeah.
Even if the name isn't familiar, its impact probably is.
Okay, that makes sense. Sets the stage nicely. So let's get the big picture view first. The report puts the global market at $413.9 million back in 2021, and it's expected to climb near $500 million, $499.3 million by 2025.
And keeps going up from there.
Right, significantly, to an estimated $726.5 million by 2033. That shows pretty steady expansion. The CAGR, the compound annual growth rate, is about 4.8% over that whole period.
Yeah, solid growth. But what's really interesting, I think, is looking at where that growth is happening. It's definitely not the same everywhere.
Okay.
So let's maybe start with North America. It's a big slice, over a third of the market.
Right.
The report sees it growing from $151.1 million in 2021 to $254.3 million by 2033. That's a 4.5% CAGR. Pretty solid.
And within North America, I see the U.S. has the lion's share, obviously, going from $101.5 million up to $164.2 million by 2033.
Yeah, that's a 4.2% growth rate. Healthy.
Okay.
But here's something that caught my eye. Canada. It's actually projected to grow faster than both the U.S. and Mexico.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the report gives Canada a 5.3% CAGR. So it goes from $36.2 million up to $67.4 million by 2033.
Any thoughts on why?
Well, the report doesn't specify, but it suggests maybe particular applications, perhaps in biotech or forensics, are expanding a bit quicker there. Mexico's growth is more modest, 3.9% CAGR, going from $13.3 million to $22.6 million.
Interesting dynamic. Okay, let's shift over to Europe then, another big market segment.
Yep. And similar growth projected here, actually, from $126.4 million in 2021 up to $214.2 million in 2033. The CAGR is 4.6%, so very close to North America's overall rate.
And who's leading the pack in Europe?
It looks like the UK. It shows the highest growth rate there, predicted to jump from $32.4 million to $63 million. That's a pretty strong 5.7% CAGR.
Wow, okay.
Germany and France are also, key players.
Yeah.
Germany's looking at $42.2 million by 2033, starting from $23.8 million. France reaches $30.2 million with a 4.2% CAGR.
Got it. The report also mentions Italy and Spain reaching around $17.2 million and $17.4 million, respectively. And Russia seems a bit slower, projecting a 3.6% CAGR, going from $5.7 million to $8.7 million.
Yeah, slower growth there. And while it's smaller overall, Luxembourg's got decent momentum, growing from $1.3 million to $2.2 million.
Okay.
And the rest of Europe combined shows steady growth, too, hitting about $18.6 million by 2033. So, some variation within Europe, but overall consistent expansion.
Right. Now, this next region seems like where things get, really dynamic, pointing towards future shifts, maybe. Asia-Pacific.
Absolutely. This region is flagged as the fastest growing overall. The market value goes from $95.6 million in 2021 to a pretty robust $181.9 million by 2033.
And the CEDA reflects that.
It does. A high regional CGR of 5.2%.
And who is driving that? China.
China is definitely a huge part of it. It goes from $39.2 million to $77.1 million, a strong 5.6%.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
$9.2 million to $77.1 million, a strong 5.6% CAGR. But the real, the absolute standout.
Let me guess, India.
You got it.
Yeah.
India has the highest TGR in the region and actually one of the top rates globally. It's shown growing significantly from $13.8 million to $29.4 million by 2033. That's a remarkable 6.3% CAGR.
Wow. That really does suggest something's happening there. Maybe rapid growth in biotech or forensics using Ninhydrin.
Exactly. That kind of growth usually points to underlying expansion in those specific sectors. Japan also shows strong growth, $17.6 million up to $30.6 million. South Korea, $10.9 million to $20 million.
Australia is expanding too, $6.5 million to $11.3 million. And Southeast Asia.
Consistent growth there as well, 5.3% CAGR, moving from $3 million to $5.8 million. So yeah, Asia Pacific is clearly where a lot of the market energy is projected.
Okay, let's head down to South America.
Right. Brazil seems to be leading the growth there, expected to grow from $9.9 million to $17.2 million. That's a 4.9% CAGR.
And others.
Argentina and Colombia follow, projected to reach $5.7 million and $3.9 million respectively by 2033. The report also mentions Peru and Chile, with Chile expected to hit about $4.5 million.
Got it. Okay, last region. The Middle East and Africa, the report mentions some surprising high-growth pockets here.
Absolutely. Egypt really stands out. It's projected to grow from $2.2 million to $4.3 million. And look at this CAGR.
6.3%, same as India.
Exactly, matching India's high rate. And then there's Turkey. The report forecasts Turkey as having the highest regional CGR globally.
No kidding, higher than India and Egypt.
Yep, 6.5%. It's expected to almost double, from $3.6 million to $7.1 million by 2033.
That's fascinating. Seeing rates that high in specific countries must mean significant local investment or advances in fields needing Ninhydrin?
Precisely. It suggests something specific is driving demand there. The rest of the Middle East shows more moderate growth, around 4.4% CAGR.
Okay, so we've gone around the globe. If we pull all these numbers, all these regions together,
Yeah.
what's the main takeaway here?
Well, the report really confirms this steady, predictable global growth for Ninhydrin, and it's driven directly by its core uses in science and industry.
The biochemistry, forensics, pharma.
Exactly. But breaking it down regionally shows you the hot spots. Asia Pacific is the big engine overall, but specific countries like India, the UK, Egypt, and especially Turkey with those really high TGRs, they show where the most dynamic shifts might be happening underneath.
It really does underscore how growth in, say, scientific research or security tech directly fuels demand for these kinds of, well, seemingly niche chemicals.
Totally. The health of this market is basically a proxy indicator for activity in things like drug discovery, diagnostic tests, academic research, forensic tech, all around the world.
When those fields grow,
Ninhydrin demand follows suit. Simple as that.
So we've navigated through the data from this market report, pinpointing the key trends, the areas leading the charge in the Ninhydrin market.
And understanding these trends hopefully gives you a kind of unique view on the foundational bits required for progress in some really critical scientific and security areas. It shows how even these smaller markets play a vital role in bigger global stuff.
Right. So given this steady global expansion fueled by these specific uses we've talked about, here's something for you to think about. What future breakthroughs, maybe in pharmaceutical research or new forensic techniques or even developments in biochemical analysis, what could be coming down the pike that might accelerate this demand for Ninhydrin even further? And how might that impact eventually touch your world? Okay, let's jump right in. We're doing a deep dive today into a chemical you've probably seen pop up in crime dramas, but it actually does a lot more than just solve TV mysteries. We're talking about Ninhydrin.
That's right.
And we're basing this discussion on a market report, the Ninhydrin market, trends and applications from cognitive market research.
It's a pretty comprehensive look.
So our goal here is basically to unpack it for you. What Ninhydrin is, why the market's growing, what challenges it's up against, and where things might be heading. A quick way to get up to speed.
Sounds good.
So starting with the most famous bit, forensics, the power of purple, as it's sometimes called. This is for finding those invisible fingerprints, right?
Yeah.
Especially on stuff like paper.
Exactly. That's its best known role. It works because Ninhydrin reacts chemically with amino acids, the stuff we leave behind in sweat and oil when we touch things.
Oh.
And that reaction produces this really strong, deep purple color. Suddenly, the invisible print isn't invisible anymore.
Right. Makes sense why crime labs would rely on it.
Yeah.
And the report says global crime detection efforts are boosting demand.
Yeah, that's definitely a factor. As forensic science becomes more established globally, the baseline need for reliable tools like Ninhydrin just grows.
But like we said, it's not just about fingerprints. The report highlights its importance elsewhere, too.
Oh, absolutely. Beyond the crime lab, Ninhydrin is kind of a workhorse reagent in science.
A reagent?
Yeah, just a substance you use to cause a specific chemical reaction. It's really vital in biochemical research. Think detecting amino acids.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
It's really vital in biochemical research. Think detecting amino acids when separating compounds. That's chromatography, or when you're trying to figure out what proteins are made of.
Okay, interesting. And the report mentioned pharmaceuticals as well. That seemed like a big driver.
It really is. Ninhydrin is key in pharmaceutical R&D, and even in making parts of some drugs. A lot of pharmaceutical companies are investing heavily in treatments based on amino acid molecules.
Oh.
So because ninhydrin is reliable for working with these molecules, its demand grows right alongside that pharma investment. It really gives it a solid market position, way beyond just forensics.
Got it. So it's versatile, it's useful, but the report doesn't paint a perfect picture. There are downsides, challenges.
Definitely. A major one involves health and safety. Ninhydrin isn't exactly harmless. Exposure can cause skin irritation, breathing problems. It's actually classified as toxic.
Wow, okay. So handling it requires care.
Very much so. Labs need strict safety protocols, proper handling, good ventilation, secure storage. And implementing all that, well, it adds complexity and, crucially, cost. That can be tough, especially for smaller labs.
And it's facing competition now too, right? From newer tech.
Yeah, that's a really important point the report brings up. Technology moves on. We're seeing more advanced detection methods emerge. Things like fluorescence-based techniques, mass spectrometry.
Which is analyzing molecules by weight?
Exactly. And of course, DNA, fingerprinting. These methods can often be more sensitive, more accurate, especially if you only have a tiny trace or the surface is tricky.
So Ninhydrin might be getting pushed out in some cases.
In some complex or really critical situations, yes. While Ninhydrin is still great and cost-effective for general screening, these newer technologies are often preferred, sometimes even required. So there's a slow shift happening.
And you mentioned costs. There are environmental rules too.
Absolutely. Regulations, particularly in places like North America and Europe, are quite strict. Making, using, and especially disposing of ninhydrin has to be managed carefully to meet environmental standards. Compliance isn't cheap, adding another barrier.
Okay, so challenges are clear. But what about the future? The report sees some trends keeping ninhydrin relevant, like automation.
Yes, it's interesting how this older chemical is adapting. Forensic labs, for example, are increasingly using automated systems, digital imaging, basically trying to process samples faster, high-throughput analysis.
Right.
So manufacturers are responding. They're developing ninhydrin kits and formulations that are specifically designed to work with these automated systems.
So keeping the reliable results, but speeding things up.
Precisely. You get the proven chemistry combined with modern efficiency.
And there's also this push towards greener chemistry everywhere. Is that affecting ninhydrin?
It is. There's active research into modified versions of ninhydrin. The goal is to reduce its toxicity, make it safer to handle, maybe improve its stability too. It's part of that wider industry move towards sustainability.
And finally, the report mentioned education. It seems to have a lasting role there.
It really does. And it's quite significant for maintaining a baseline demand, that visible purple color change. It's a fantastic demonstration tool.
Yeah, I can see that.
It makes it perfect for teaching basic chemical analysis in schools and universities, especially in STEM programs. It reliably shows a fundamental concept, so it stays in the curriculum.
So wrapping this up then, ninhydrin started, for many of us, as that fingerprint chemical. But it's clearly much more vital in research, in pharma. It's facing pressure from safety concerns and newer tech, but it's adapting through things like automation and maybe greener formulas. And education keeps it relevant too.
It's a classic case, really. A proven traditional tool, finding ways to coexist and even integrate with innovation.
Which kind of makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, how does this balance between the tried and true methods like ninhydrin and these really cutting-edge technologies, how does that tension actually reshape entire fields like forensics or research? And what does it say about how we approach solving problems in general? Something to chew on.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.